שיר המלוי ססוין אלוהים עניו ויעזר עזר ומדינת השבעים בארץ עליתי להם בדרך לך עלינו שם רער אני לא יהיה למילישון שם מישראל אדוני שם רעך אדוני ציל לכל יד ימינך יום יום השם ישלה יקר ורער בלילה אדוני ישמח מכל רעי ישמר ישמח אדוני ישמר יצחק ויחו מהטוב יד אוילום. Friends, let's give some tzedakah. So we have tefillah, tzedakah, which is, and we're going to have Torah. But before this, we're also going to have the sound of the shofar with a prayer that we should hear the shofar of Moshiach. We're already a week into the month of Elul. It's been a week that we've been saying the David Hashem Oiri V'Yishi, the Psalm, the 27th Psalm in Tehillim, that we say throughout the entire month of Elul, all the way till Hoshana Rabbah. Actually, a total of 50 days. There are different customs. Some say it by Shachis, some say it by Mincha, some say it by Shachis and Mincha, some say it by Shachis and Ma'ariv. Whatever the custom is, the typical Jewish system, there are different customs about it, but we all say it. What's so special about this prayer? So what's interesting, that it says that if we count, we find 13 times God's name Yud Ke Vav Ke. The Tetragrammaton of the God's name is found there 13 times, as you said, which the number 13 represents the 13 attributes of God's mercy. And that's why we say this, because this reminds us of the fact that when Moshe Rabbeinu was up in heaven to receive the tablets, after we committed the sin of the golden calf, he invoked those 13 attributes of mercy. And then God had forgiven us. And God has given us the second set of the tablets, which is also related to the number 50. As we remember, before receiving the first set of tablets, before God revealed himself on Mount Sinai to give us the 10 Commandments, we counted 49 days, and on the 50th is when we received the Torah. So this is the correspondence between the 50 days of saying LeDavid Hashem Oiri, the 13 attributes of God's mercy, and our request of ultimate forgiveness. And what we're asking is LeDavid Hashem Oiri V'Yishi. God, David says, God, you are my light and my salvation. Which light is he referring to? So it says in the Medrash that David HaMelech is referring to the light of creation. When God created the world, there was such a powerful light, but the world could not take it, and God hid it. When did he hide it for? For the time of Mashiach. So David HaMelech asks, please God, I'd like to have this light, Oiri V'Yishi, the light of salvation, because we're ready for it. And here we see an interesting thing. In the 4th verse of this David Hashem Oiri, what do we say? We quote David HaMelech, Acha sho'alti meis Hashem, one thing I asked from God, and this is what I'm requesting, Shifti beveis Hashem kol yemei chayai, to be present, to be sitting in God's home my entire life, and to delight in God's greatness, in God's shine. So the Medrash says, God tells David HaMelech, you start the verse by saying, Acha sho'alti, one thing I'm asking, and then you're coming up with a litany of all kinds of requests. Is it one or is it everything else? David HaMelech responds to God, I do like you. In Torah it says, V'ato Yisrael ma Hashem Elokecha shoel me'imach. And you Jewish people, what is God asking from you? One thing, Kim li yira Hashem Elokecha, only to fear God. So you're telling us, you're asking us one thing, to fear you. And then you're coming out with 613 mitzvahs. So God, I do like you. I ask you one thing. But this one thing has a number of things attached to it. What does that mean? David HaMelech says, I asked you the one thing, which is the Geula, which is the redemption. I want to be with you all the way in the Beis HaMikdash. Everything else is all part and parcel of this one request. Everything else that we do in life, everything, all the mitzvahs and all the learning of Torah and all the good deeds and even the physical, the daily routine that we do for God's sake, what is this all about? Achas sho'alti. I'm requesting the time where we will reach that ultimate achas, that oneness. Exile is multitude. Redemption, geula, is one. In fact, there's a little anecdote that somebody told the Friedrich Rebbe, we should hear good news, besuras in plural. And the Friedrich Rebbe told him, Ein besura, aber die rechte. One piece of good news, but the right one. One. Achas sho'alti. We're asking for oneness, total unity, unification with Hashem, which this is the Geula, which this is in the Beis Hamikdash, which this is the imminent coming of Mashiach now.